About 12 months ago, I was watching Arsenal during pre-season. I saw the signings they had made in Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus. I watched the emergence of the young players, the Sakas, the Martinellis. The way Ben White had proven so many people wrong that his £50 million price tag a year prior, in the summer of 2021, was too much. Tomiyasu making Sky Sports presenters look silly. And despite how many times we spoke about it on Match Reactions, no matter what the detractors of Mikel Arteta said, his core group and the vast majority of players at the club believed in him. And I predicted last season that Arsenal would come third. I changed my prediction a month into the season and said second. And then around January, I stated that I believed they could win the league. And ultimately, my final prediction of where they would finish in the league was wrong. But every other element that sat underneath Arsenal came to fruition. They became title challengers. They proved people wrong. The football was beautiful. And as a Man United fan, they scared me. They scared me because even though United since 2013 have fallen off, for the past 2 decades, Arsenal were a team that, yes, could beat you on a one-off individual game. Yes, they may have knocked you out of a few cup competitions, but they were never really the team you were aiming to better, to beat. You didn't really have to overtake them in your journey and conquest towards being the best. They were an also run. Arsenal were a good team that play brilliant football, but never got over the line. Now, some may argue that they're still not getting over the line. One trophy since Arteta has been there, and a title race which many will say they bottled. And I understand that logic. The draws against West Ham, Southampton, and Liverpool are unforgivable. They win those games, I believe they become champions, and they should have won those games. But you've got to look beyond just the results of this season and putting it down to the same old last season and putting it down to the same old Arsenal. And the reason that I say that is because you have to contextualize everything and look at the facts. Mikel Arteta came in and took over from Unai Emery, and the club understood that it needed a reset. For 15 or so years, it had eroded. The standards were gone. But you can't just build upon top of a fallen empire. There are times where you have to clear everything out. If the cup is already half full, you can't fill it with complete knowledge. If the foundations are ruined and rotten and falling apart, you can't build upon the top of it because it will fall down again. And a lot of people, including myself and many Arsenal fans, couldn't see what Arsenal were trying to build. We laughed, we jeered, we made fun. We belittled every aspect of Mikel Arteta. But last summer, I saw what he was doing. And as a Man United fan, it scared me. As a Man United fan, it was painful to watch. As a Man United fan, it wasn't enjoyable. But it's also woken me up more to my club. And I'm far more relaxed about what Ten Hag is doing. I understand that rebuilding greatness from points of despair, getting your team to the top of the table when you've not been there for 10 whole years, where the club has fallen from grace, where standards have dropped, where the dressing room is a nightmare, where you have your worst moment for us in 40 years, for them, maybe in their history, at least their modern post-war history. Rebuilding that isn't as simple as chucking 250, 300 million pounds at the transfer market, changing your manager and going again. Fundamentals have to be rebuilt. Roman Abramovich is always used as an example of, well, he sacked managers and they were the most successful team in England for 20 years. But that was because the core of the club was strong. The standards were high. The behaviors were where you wanted them to be. The club was well run. Maybe up until the last 6 or 7 years. Well, although they won a Champions League, there was no title challenges. And many Arsenal fans felt that UCL win papered over severe cracks. Being well run alone isn't good enough, though, just to win a league. You look at Liverpool and how in the early days of Klopp, they built a team that was the best in England, the best in Europe, and conquered the world. They were better than Pep City. They overtook the Centurions. But they failed to invest. They paid better wages. They increased bonuses. They spent some money, but they didn't go for it. They didn't go out and buy the best available midfielder in England. They didn't improve the team. They didn't sacrifice key players before they went past their best. And it's 3 seasons without a Premier League. Now no Champions League. And Liverpool are by no means a fallen giant under Jurgen Klopp. But they should not be where they are now if the investment was correct. And I look at Arsenal this summer and think to myself, they're clearing out some good names who still have a good few years left in them, but are doing it early. Being brutal. They're giving new, highly lucrative contracts to their players. Highly lucrative. Saka, 250 to 300 grand a week, we read. Saka, 10 million a year. Signing up the likes of Reece Nelson to remain at the club rather than moving him on for good strength. And then investing in the transfer window. Kai Havertz remains a deal that's got a lot of people scratching their heads. But for me, when you look at the vast majority of Mikel Arteta's deals, you realize how good they have been. Why are we questioning this so deeply? Uri and Timber, as you see on the screen, are highly talented, highly capable, brilliant athlete, now in through the door at a very modest price. The crowning jewel of the summer for Arsenal, Declan Rice. Chelsea bound for 2 to 3 years. Man United holding great interest. Arsenal, this time 2 years ago, would have been given almost a 0% chance of landing one of the best midfielders, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe and the world. An astoundingly good leader. He just wanted Arsenal. And if that penny has not dropped 8 minutes into this video, maybe it now will. They built a team that plays brilliant football. The young players are growing into more mature, older players that are hungry. Dead wood has been removed. Sacrifices made on top players to keep the squad fresh, to keep people on their toes, to maintain the high standards. For the first time in the Premier League era, Arsenal were investing in their best players and not letting them join Man United, Man City, Chelsea. They're giving them modern day contracts. They're investing heavy. And they're going to break the £700 million mark of spending this summer since Mikel Arteta has been their manager. If the penny hasn't dropped that Arsenal are changed, if the penny has not dropped for you to believe that this Arsenal team is the real deal, maybe another title challenge, maybe winning the Premier League, maybe picking up some domestic trophies and having a brilliant Champions League run will. But to write them off, as I've seen many people do, is ridiculous. It's a projection of hope as opposed to a true belief, because this Arsenal team remain scary. And in fact, the fear factor has increased more. I don't believe they're done in the transfer window as of yet. I believe more money will be invested. A handful more players moved on to improve this team. But Arsenal are in this title race next year. City are the favourites, there's no doubt. But let's just call it for what it is. They're one of the best teams in Europe right now, without a shadow of a doubt. And my club, Man United, are going to have to work very hard to catch them. Liverpool, it isn't a foregone conclusion. They just jump back in front of them again. And everybody else chasing them, there's a lot of catching up to do. But as ever, I want to know your thoughts and feelings. How much do you think Arsenal have improved so far? The reason that I focus on Arsenal before any other team in terms of building up for the new season is because they've done so much more business than anybody else, significant business. Man United, maybe by the time you watch this, Onana's been announced. And you think, oh, you're doing similar. City have just, maybe Guardiola's been announced. Liverpool, a couple of good bits of business. But the way they're behaving, Arsenal, is different from anything I remember seeing from them in the Premier League era. And that, as a rival, scares me. Hit the like and the share button. Please make sure you subscribe. Turn on the bell notifications as well. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you. Peace.